calculated the length of the angle iron.
You're still recording.
Oh, fuck. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New Jersey. Special treat for tonight. We're going to be making a welding table to make the rest of the welding a bit easier. We wrote the instructions on the steel here and bought some various parts from McMaster. And yeah, it should go exactly as it says. So let's get started. So it's bitterly cold in central New Jersey today. So I'm going to take advantage of that to do a special way of cutting this metal. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave this outside the shop for a couple of minutes and use the thermal stresses to just crack this right half in two, right down the lines. So I just brought this in from outside. Maybe out there. And I'm just going to run over this with a soldering iron to give it some thermal difference here. And I'm just going to hit it with crystal blue persuasion there, and it should just go right apart. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we got all the steel cracked to length here, and the setup is going to be that this will be upside down. So each of these goes on these things here. So that's the final size, and the first welds we're going to do are going to be these lap welds here. So hit everything with a 40 grit flap wheel, squared it up all the edges on the belt grinder so that all of these surfaces, this surface, this, and this are as 90 degrees as I can get. Got the TIG welder warmed up. Got my helmet here. We're set for DC and 110 amps. Just going to do tacks right here to hold it up, and then we'll see how it moves around and re-square it. Okay, here we go. We're just going to put about an inch of weld around each of the tacks. That should be plenty to hold this. Ugly but effective. Good. A little too out of position with this weld. I'm going to move the whole work. Try to frame it up for you a little better there. Not that you'll be able to see anything because I'm Too lazy to put the filter on from my other mask. Not too bad, not too bad. I had all sorts of time to think about this, and I still ballsed up the map. What was meant to happen was that this was supposed to be the moving jaw of a vise here, and have this still kind of worn piece here be the fixed jaw, and that this could push in and pull this way all the way in, or push any of these together. But that's not what happened. I'm 5 inches too wide on this piece here, so instead of 35, these should have been 30. So the only fix I have for that is to get 2 more slats later and just take this from this side here and only have 5 inches of travel in the moving jaw. So we're counting on the slat riding on the angle iron to carry the weld current back to the welder. So we're going to need really good contact between the bottom of the slat and the angle iron. And we're going to want constant downward pressure pushing metal to metal there, but we still want these to be able to travel along the angle iron like this. So what we're going to do is use square head 5/16 by 18 machine screws and a stack of regular washer, wave washer, regular washer, wave washer, and one more to provide spring tension that's going to pull that slat down onto the iron. And because there's going to be very little screw tension provided in that setup, we're using a locking nut. So I'm going to lay out a channel here on the angle iron and cut it out. So just a couple of seconds ago, you heard me say some wacky nonsense about making a slot in this angle iron over 30 inches. And well, that would be a relatively easy thing to do with a mill. I don't have one of those, and as much as I wish I did have one has yet to appear in my shop or the space to put one in. So we got to go with a more plausible idea. I got into drilling all these holes here, got tired, went home, came back a week later with a much better idea. And some more angle iron. So the angle iron can go like this and locate up against these square head machine screws, just like this. That way, when I burn these in, they're exactly where they go, and should have clearance to do this, so these slide evenly all the way up and down. Okay, let's weld. So in close-up, you can see that the head of the machine screw stands proud of the channel made by the angle iron, which means you don't get any engagement between the washer and the slat, so you don't get any pull of the slat table down into these angle irons. So what you have to do is grind back the head of this machine screw so that when you weld it down here, the washer will press into the angle iron. This is nothing but a piece of angle iron that I just run the bolt through, and with a hole in there. Use this, it's rather hot at the moment. Use this to push it up on the disc, and use the fence to keep this ground section of it relatively square. We've got our 16 square head machine screws here. Ground them down so that they'll clear under that, and we ground ourselves a little metal spot there, what for to weld to the steel slat, and we'll just put them right here and burn them in. So that was a lot more interesting than I wanted it to be. I had gone in with the idea of putting filler in, but this really ended up being a much more out of position weld than I had originally planned for. And when it started melting and fusing pretty good, even though it seemed like a lot of the welds, the oxide on the machine screw added a lot of shmoo to the weld pool, but it seemed to burn off and leave pretty good, pretty smooth fusion welds. So now we just got to put the hardware on it, and we'll have a table of sorts. Alright, so there it is. Spring washer system isn't working out as well as I would have hoped. Might replace it with just outright springs. Cheap enough to get. Also, the square head machine screw alignment isn't as good as I'd like it to be. But for now, I'm declaring victory as I can weld on this, and it is somewhat level, stable, workable, and I guess after a fashion and some fettling I can probably move this around. We'll probably do some more parts on adding a vise to move some of these jaws or some of these slats in and out in a more coordinated fashion, and that might add up to just changing the whole thing to work a little bit better. I was going to put this 01 drill rod here on the vise ones. Maybe I'll just use that all the way down, get some more steel. Got other plans for the drill rod. And also going to be making a helping hand. Might make that more for the vise. So thanks for hanging out with me while I built this, and I'll try better next time.